Welcome to the Rusted Garden Homestead. In today's episode of Garden Ramblings, I figured I would start with what I'm doing right now. Today's January 1st. Happy New Year. I wish you all a wonderful 2024. And this is pretty much what I do on my channel every year. I start videos starting with January, go all the way through the end of December. So it's seed starting time. Now, everything that you see growing here was started early for video. So it's a little bit too early, but really in January I start getting the seed starts going. I'm going to be also working on a couple ways to start seeds indoors. I'm going to be doing a couple episodes on how do you start seeds without grow lights so that you don't have to spend money and set all this up. Real quick, my station is set up, 2 lights on each shelf. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shelves. I start my germination right up there, so the lights stay a little bit closer. And you can see that it's 2 flats, going long ways, getting maximum light from the lights. And then they work their way down. When they get to here, the lights are up higher. The plants are usually bigger. These are going to get moved up there shortly. But by turning them, I guess, perpendicular to the shelving, I can fit 4 flats in here. And the flats stick out a little bit past the light. You need less light when your plants are bigger, generally speaking. So I can get 4 flats in here of more mature plants. Saves me room. And again, I go from 2 flats, kind of work my way down. This is also where I do all the mixes for the seed starting mixes. I keep peat moss, vermiculite, some perlite up here, and I just do everything right in this corner. This is the office where I do my live videos. I collect all kinds of different things. One book that's really cool is Chemical Gardening for the Amateur. It's from the 40s or 50s. And when you read that, it's really interesting in the sense that plants don't know the difference between chemical fertilizers, non-chemical fertilizers. The harm comes, as we walk into here, when we just use the chemical types. We don't add organic matter. We don't take care of the soil. Taking care of the soil is more important than whether or not you choose to use all organic chemicals, non-organic chemicals, combination of both. It really boils down to the soil, and I'll be talking more about that this year. This is my office. This is where I do the live videos. I have my second channel up there now, working on a series for new gardeners in starting seeds indoors. And you take a quick look around. You know, somewhat of a mess, but cleaned up greatly. Let me spin this way, and then we're going to go outside. All my equipment. You can see all the different collectibles. If you don't like Miracle-Gro, of course, don't use them. But the chemical fertilizers are perfect to use indoor for your seed starts. They don't create any smell, any problems, and they give your plants everything they need. And using some non-organic fertilizers for your seed starts is never going to harm your plant or harm you. Once I get onto my garden, I go to 95% organic. All the different books I collect. You know, this is just a good room. One of the things that I liked when we got this house is that we'd had multiple bedrooms, and you know, this is a perfect way to really have a garden office. And you know, this is kind of cheery. In January, February, when it's cold out here in Maryland, I get to work with the plants. All right, let's get outside, show you what's going on in the greenhouse and the garden. We'll go into the greenhouse in a second. Just want to give you a spin of my property. A lot of people have been asking to see a full tour. I'm going to do that in another video, also inside the house, because a lot of you got to see what the house looked like when we bought it. In fact, it was yellow. There's a big red porch here, and we've changed up a lot of stuff over the last 5 years. But this is sort of the right side of my property facing the road. It goes all the way out to the road, the gazebo, and I'll keep spinning around. And then the wood line here along the fence. It's where I keep all the firewood, picnic table. You know, not too exciting, but I love the property. We're going to be staying here, you know, till the end. Hopefully that's not for like 30 years. Nice mess there. That was filled with water, so I just dumped it out. That'll all be getting cleaned up. The garden is always in the process of being tidied up, planted, taken care of. I'm pretty happy with where things left off for me from 2023. It's in pretty good shape. All of kind of the divisions that I've done, these are goji berries, raspberries. I'm going to show you the strawberries because these were just pressed in, I don't know, like 60 days ago. Just pressed into the soil. and most of them are alive, over 90%. If you pull this out, you see a really nice root system. It's curled because I pulled this one out before for an Instagram video. But these are all going to do fine. Strawberries can take a freeze. Everything out here can take a freeze. And it's really where, you know, I'm doing a lot of divisions. If it gets warm again, I'll be digging up more stuff. You can see upstairs I had the chemical fertilizers for the indoor seed starts. This is fish fertilizer, organic. I use that when I'm making up my potting mixes for outdoors. Let's go inside. And I do recommend, I have lots of videos on creating your own starting mix, making your own container mix for the outdoors, setting up your soil. You can save a lot of money that way. Inside, I've showed you these before. Today again is January 1st. Let's let the door close. And these were all started by seed on October 19th. Things are growing very slowly. That's because it still gets freezing out here at night. So as I've been saying, these freeze through. All these herbs can handle the cold and the freeze. The heater is definitely going in today. Temperatures have been in the 40s during the days, low 30s, sometimes upper 20s at night. All different herbs in here. These have not been watered for at least 4 weeks, and I've just been keeping an eye on them. One of the mistakes you can do when it's cold and you're trying to grow stuff is you keep the soil too soggy, and that damages the plants. When I look in here, I can see these are getting dried out. It looks like the chamomile dried out. So the crops up here, there's one way in the back. The plants up here obviously seem to dry first. I'll use this as a marker. Missed it by, I don't know, 5 days or so. So I'll water these in, lightly water the rest of them, but they're just going to sit here. I'll run the heater at night, just trying to keep the temperatures above freezing and let these get growing. They should do pretty well. Real quick, here are my peanuts that I harvested last year, and they're just sitting in here. I'll be growing them. You do have to break the shell, take out the seed, and then you can grow peanuts that way. All right, let's step back out. And the main garden, I mean, you've seen what it looks like. Let's go do an opposite tour. We'll go to the other part of the garden first. But everything is pretty much in place for 2024, meaning we dug up a lot of the weeds, got the beds ready, things are somewhat pruned. You know, I feel pretty good. You can hear the birds, I love that. And there's not much I have to do out here. I'll just keep cleaning it up a little bit, you know, each month as the temperatures, you know, unseasonably stay warm. Weeds growing in there, some greens growing in there. I didn't really pursue gardening through December and January. Next year I'm going to be doing more, a couple design ideas. I just didn't feel like it. I've got so much going on. I'm happy with how the garden did this year, so I'm kind of taking a break. Here is, we'll go in there in a second. This is where I keep things that seem to like the shade a little bit more. In fact, ginger does okay over here. It gets enough sun. An apple tree, ramps growing here. This is a 3-year project. This year they should really take off. The mushroom garden, I feel like my mushrooms did not do as well as I wanted, but it's all set up for the wine caps to really take off. I think they will be okay. Going to be this year taking this structure down because everyone told me it looks too much like an outhouse, and I'm going to disassemble it. This little guy right here is going to just be pulled over. Just going to be pulled back this way. That's all going to get disassembled, and some sort of farm shed is going to go into there. I'm going to build it myself. We'll see how that goes, and that'll be for all the tractors and equipment that I have. As we walk around, you might see the tractors are sitting out there, all going to get tarped up, but I want a place for them. Always struggling what to do with this space, because every year I just felt like I was replanting stuff that's already in my main garden, and I just didn't need it. So I think this year this is going to actually just be featured on my second YouTube channel. I have another one called My First Vegetable Garden, and I'm really going to slowly go through here, teach people that are brand new to gardening how to grow food. and this space is going to be featured in there. And part of what I'll be doing is also focusing on, if you just have a family of 2 or 4, how much space do you need? And I think this would actually work pretty well for that. But I'm trying to come up with some ideas for videos for 2024 that are a little bit different. I did start garlic in here. This is softneck garlic, Argentinian garlic right there. Also in this container, softneck doesn't need a long cold period like the hardneck. And by having it in 2 different places, you see that it's already popped up. If you didn't plant garlic this year, you can get softneck, press it into the ground here in Maryland, late February, early March, you'll still get garlic. The cloves may not be as large, but softneck doesn't need that cold period like the hardneck garlic. Hardneck garlic is right in there. Some of it's popping up, but hardneck garlic forms best when it gets those temperatures for weeks and weeks, 40 degrees, a little bit less, and that helps them form come the next year. But you can see, remnants of peppers and tomatoes and different things in here. But I just wasn't coming out here taking care of things because I didn't need any of the vegetables out of here. So this is going to be pretty much a set for my first vegetable garden. Muscadines, they grow crazily well. They're all going to be hacked back. And you've seen all the compost. I guess I should say it again. I understand if you don't have the room. If you have the room, you're really missing out by not composting. And these are just piles of leaves and grass, and they're all going to break down. Even if you don't get to use the compost for a year or 2, but you keep this going, before you know it, you're going to have amazing stuff. And your garden is just going to do, 100% better because the root systems in the soil have what it needs. This is my no-dig garden, doing pretty well. Most of the weeds taken care of, except those that seem to manage well in the freeze. Artichokes coming back nice and strong. They do have to get covered. I was supposed to cover them a couple weeks ago. I'll put 12 inches of leaves on top of there. Keep the roots from freezing through, and they're going to come back year after year. It's also the area that I grow things that deer won't eat. So they're all set up, ready to go really, little basic weeding and stuff like that. Let me just walk out this way, then we'll go into the main garden. My property extends into the wooded area. That's just been left as is. At some point I might clean it up, put some sort of structure in there. This is my perennial bed. I use this a lot for just attracting pollinators and butterflies and good insects. Wood that I have dropped that needs to get split up and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to just take you around here. Now it took me, 20 years, 25 years to get to this property. So if you have a small space and you want to get to a bigger property, slow and steady, you'll get there. And again, we're going to be staying here, hopefully, it'll be our forever home for a good 30 years or more. Deer all traffic through here. This is the line where I put a lot of, that's asparagus just thrown in there. So all my plants that have tomatoes, peppers, asparagus seeds on there, I throw along here. I throw them along this line to see what grows. And a couple times I've had butternut squash and different things grow. So it's kind of cool. So we'll see what happens here. Lots of raspberries in there. And then we come spinning around here. And this is the other side. Up in the front where you see that car is my orchard. The magnolia tree is doing well. It's all been shredded. I don't know if you can see it, but I had to put cage back around there because a buck came in and just was putting his antlers through the tree and just kind of wrecking it. But this is the general property. I have all kinds of different things going on. We're not going to go to the front of the house today, but I have a garden in there, lots of edible landscaping in there. And that's kind of the goal, is slowly building up this space to what I want it to become. And every year, something's changing. And it kind of keeps gardening fresh. I really enjoy it. All right, let's go back into the main garden. This was a third wave of potatoes. Maybe I put them in the beginning of August. And they weren't huge, but they were a good size. And I just harvested out of them. Just reach in, pull them out. Bought some beans, green beans from a store. Can't grow them now. And had potatoes and green beans. Still taking out turnips. Mustard greens do really well. Arugula's almost, resistant to deep freezes. You'll see a huge plant when we go inside the garden. But it's pretty much going to sleep. I'm not going to spend too much time in here because you've pretty much seen it. The whole goal was to get this mostly under control So come spring, I can plant right in there. Still taking leaves of the purple cabbage. Looks pretty good. Grew more lettuce than I could eat. And this is pretty much how things look for the month of January, year after year. The beans have to dry. Even the broccoli is still going. I'm mostly taking the leaves off and just eating them as greens, but the broccoli looks great. I mean, it's not soft, it's not rubbery. They're ready to harvest. If I get another, I don't know, 2 weeks of temperatures not really getting below 28 degrees, the broccoli is going to be perfectly fine. Here's the design of a cold frame that I just did a video on, and it's working really well. You can see, and I do like to experiment, on the right side the water just runs off. When it was tented up a little bit with the 2 posts, in the video I said you have to go and poke holes in there, which I ended up not doing, and you can see how the water pools. But if you kind of build, you know, short stake to the left, tall stake to the right, 2 pieces of string, kind of builds a roof line, and you just have to poke some holes into it. The water will drain out and it will stay propped up. And I'll get to fixing this up later. I wanted to use this more to see how I could set this up in February and start growing much earlier. That's kind of what I want to do this year. I don't want to keep all this stuff growing. Tomato bed set up. Here is the arugula, all in the corn, all reseeded. Tons of greens that I'm still harvesting, and I'm just breaking off masses of arugula leaves. I mean, just look how beautiful it is, how stocky it is. Not protected. Definitely getting temperatures in the mid-20s at times. They're all doing really, really well. Planted in my fruit tree. This is an apple tree. Let's see exactly what variety it is. It's an apple, a gala, or gala. And it's going to be dwarfish, I hope. But I'm going to be growing cucumbers or beans up it. It's going to be part of my trellis. I have extra space since I'm doing more of an edible landscape throughout my property. I don't need every single bed to be filled up with something that's growing. That's another thing that I recommend, is if you're overgrowing, meaning you're not eating it, you're not able to give it away, then you have to do extra work to maintain it. It's easier for pests and disease to come in. So you want to strike the right balance between what you're growing, what you're consuming, and it's a lot easier. For instance, I always say, you know, when I was growing 8, 10, 12 zucchini plants, I would get more issues with powdery mildew, squash bugs, vine borers, than when I went to growing 2 or 3 and just rotating in new plants every 4 weeks. I got more produce by growing less, more production by growing less, and by, you know, just taking care of a few plants. So you don't have to overdo it. Some more broccoli in there. Sitting in the back here, we'll see. Those are watermelons that, you know, I just never got to. We'll see if any melons grow out of there. If they do, I'll probably leave them. Strawberries are looking good in there. I mean, the garden is, you know, it's asleep really for January. I like where I'm at. I do have a goal this year. I'm trying to get to 750,000 subscribers. So if you've not subscribed, please consider subscribing, and please share my channel. I think that will help. Not too far from it, but I think 750K is a nice milestone, you know, for me. I think I've been doing this for 13 years now, so I think that would be great. This bed is all ready to go with a couple tomatoes in there. The bed here, and that's just alfalfa, you know, pellets I scattered on there. They're not going to do a whole lot. I'll mix them in, they'll give back. But the whole key is compost. If you have the space or have the opportunity, really try and get to composting. It's going to save you so much money, and your garden is going to be very different once that soil gets 2 years, 3 years of compost just integrated into it. And you're not trying to build soil down to 1 foot, 2 feet deep. It's just that top 4, 6, 8 inches. So let's just spin around over here. I'll show you one more thing and then we'll wrap up. I did start, because I do like radishes, in a cold frame here. Let's see what's going on. I started some radishes, so I am doing some growing, but again, not overdoing it. Radishes right in there. and they should make it. And then in here, if you have a good eye, there's some spinach coming up. And those are the two things that I really like in, you know, January, February, March. So we're using the cold frame. I changed this all over to just a basic soil on the top, and they look pretty good. And I just wanted to cut in real quick before we end. Those are mustard greens. They do extremely well in the cold, meaning 25 degrees, freezing temperatures. They just look beautiful. Over here are different herbs. The mint looks good. I have chives in there, different perennial flowers, and they've been sitting in the cold too. So they do freeze at night when the temperatures are dropping below 32 degrees. And they look good. So you can propagate and just leave your flats out like this. You don't need a specialized greenhouse or anything like that. Now they all won't survive, but I think at least 80% of these will. And I'm just gonna have so many transplants that I can sell or put out, you know, throughout my garden. And that cold frame are the super hots that I'm overwintering. Nothing special in there, so we're not gonna take a look at it. Thanks so much for watching. Really appreciate being able to kind of connect with you through social media. I'll be doing lots of live events, public Q&As. It's always nice to kind of connect that way, hear what you guys are thinking, answering some questions. I want to again wish you a happy new year. Looking forward to 2024. I think it's going to be a great gardening year for all of us. And if you have time, please check out my seed shop at therustedgarden.com. Thanks for watching.